Okay, so let's talk about a joke about what's called chaos magic. Chaos magic is a complete joke. I made a joke the other day or yesterday, whenever it was, about stealing, like using chaos magic with Jim Carrey to steal all of Elon Musk's money. And that's why he's going bankrupt. And instead of, that kind of idea, or that sort of magical construct, what that does is that basically says that all the people of the United States of America and around the world who have actively boycotted and protested that man and his businesses as a consequence of his bad behaviour had nothing to do with it, but some silly imaginal construct involving some guy this physical body's never met had more weight in the subject. That's obviously an unreasonable proposition, isn't it? Those kind of imaginal constructs is that sort of style of thinking is behind what you might call dictators and aristocrats more generally. They seem to be of the opinion that their imaginal constructs have more validity than other people's, and they're willing to project them at them and make them suffer and experience them instead of what their own truth and whatever it is, all in the name of you have to accept their worldview or else. Okay, so in that respect, a chaos magician is exactly like a Catholic. So there was a commenter who is a lady who says that she's got a doctorate in theological studies. So she's not necessarily a religious person by the looks of it. She's more like just someone who decided that she enjoyed doing cultural studies, and the aspect of culture that she was most interested in was religion and cults. And so one of her videos, we'll try and find a link to that later, put it in the comments somewhere, was talking about chaos magic. Okay, and that's where the joke came from. Well, chaos magic was used. Fugly used chaos magic with Jim Carrey to rip Elon Musk off all of his billions of dollars. He's losing his billions of dollars, according to the imaginal constructs of other people's YouTube videos, the news, and whatever else. And so what? So what? Couldn't happen to a nicer bloke. I mean, except for all his tech bro buddies and the entire industry that they're part of. Okay, go right ahead. It's not necessarily electric vehicles that are the problem, as he said. Even Elon Musk said that. He said electric vehicles are actually peaceful and Tesla's a peaceful company. Well, the CEO is not. Okay, and he's also the CEO of other companies which are not peaceful, such as Neuralink and OpenAI. Oh, how is Neuralink not peaceful again? Isn't Neuralink the one where they put those little electrode thingamajigs BCI devices on disabled people? That sounds very peaceful. They get to ride in their little wheelchairs and whatever else, and be able to think their way up staircases and stuff. And prosthetic devices help them or something. That sounds cool. It does, doesn't it? Except for one thing, that the actual the cybernetic implant is not required to be able to do that. They can wear this thing that's roughly, they could wear a hat with electrodes on it and produce the same effect. What they were trying to do was basically mechanise the human body because they're actually in a state of objectification of disabled people. So the imaginal construct objectification refers to seeing those people as mere objects, which is what the category disabled predominantly does to those people, and ironically is supposedly one of the motives of the BCI in the first place. They're in a state of objectification in the sense that they are picked up and moved like an object by other people when they're severely disabled. They're picked up and moved, and someone wipes their butt for them and maintains them like they were an object. Maintenance is what you do in your car, and yet when it comes to care plans or whatever, the maintenance of the disabled person by the care worker is considered part of the plan in severe disability cases. So maintenance of those objects is part of the lexicon, and subsequently, as a social construct or imaginal construct of society, disabled people have in fact been objectified for the entire time. And so because they were objectified, Adolf Hitler, what he did was he got and he started sticking them in ovens. Oh well, they're just objects, might as well bake them. Like, brick, bake them like a brick. That's literally what Hitler and the Nazi Party did. They took disabled people and shoved them in concentration camps and ovens and baked them like bricks. Literally. So that same guy that was what's the name, doing was it a Nazi salute or something like that, and funding a alt-right pipeline party called the AfD in Germany, and what else was he doing? He worked with the tech bros and Donald Trump to stage a fascist coup in the USA, which pundits in the USA seem to think is already completed. It happened in 73 days, whereas Hitler did it in 53 days was someone's quote. It's like, this is Mr. Musk. This is Mr. Elon Reeve Musk. Date of birth, 3rd of July, 1971. Okay, of Pretoria, South Africa, as well as Birmingham in Canada. Mother's name, May Haldeman. Father's name, Errol Musk. Okay, this is what he's done with his buddies. The letter X actually comes from the Technocratic Party of Canada, okay, which has its origins in Minnesota in the USA. Okay? Okay? You can rest assured the man's a fascist, okay? They're fascists, okay? You've got you Yankees have been showing videos, which admittedly, the only phenomenology that's going on here is his phone to access that information. So that information is technically an imaginal construct, but there is a theory of mind in operation, which means that it is presumed that that Yankees are in fact phenomenological, physical people who exist in a physical phenomenological place called, which has been given the map label United States of America, and that they have potentially similar devices, perhaps not the same, brand or whatever, or design, but in principle, they can transmit those imaginal constructs using their phenomenological bodies and their phenomenological mobile phones or whatever to record them, and then satellite dishes and whatever else exist to transmit the information to this device. And likewise, you, the viewer, have done the same thing, only in reverse. This phenomenological body has used that phenomenological mobile phone to turn these images and sounds into to rely on the device's capabilities to turn these images and sounds into constructs which are technological for the purpose of transmission. So that doesn't mean this face is technological. It doesn't mean this face is simulated. It means from your perspective, it's an imaginal construct. From this physical body's perspective, they are not imaginary. They're very phenomenological. Okay, so the imaginal constructs that noumena that this space is experiencing is somewhat strange. We're not going to do with that. And it definitely feels like it's not self, and that might lend to the idea that magic is real. Okay then. If that's the case, then the perception that Jim Carrey was around doing chaos magic to rip off Elon Musk happened then. Okay then, that was an imaginal construct. You don't have to believe that. Okay? You don't have to believe that. Okay? And of course, phenomenologically, this body found out what chaos magic was from what? From watching that lady's video. Okay, so, and it was about 2 days ago, or a day ago, or whenever it was. So, whatever. And so, phenomenologically, from the vantage point of Australia, the USA doesn't exist. Okay? From the vantage point of Australia, or what they call Australia, okay, this specific region we won't name. It's not actually called Australia. It is within what the maps have decided was the Australian continent, okay? Okay, this phenomenological location. Okay? We won't say which one. We'll just call it the generic term, representative term, whoop whoop, okay? Because whoop whoop is a strong word which means, what would they probably say in the American dialect? Oh, the outback. Okay, so anyway, Whoop whoop basically means the outback, okay? Anyway, from the perspective of, to use we're of the comprehension is American English, the outback represents being distally located from urbanised centres, and so it is also like terms phenomenologically also distal as in very far away from the urbanised centres of the United States of America, which is considered about 30,000 kilometres away. So it's just 2/3 to 3/4 of the circumference of the globe away. It's quite literally on the other side of the planet, and so phenomenologically speaking, and we're making an assumption here that the phenomenological space called United States of America even exists at all. So it is, of course, an assumption that the United States or Canada exists. It's an assumption that England or the United Kingdom exists. It's an assumption that China or Russia exists. And yet, based on these assumptions and these imaginary constructs, we are transmitting information through phenomenological objects such as mobile phones, which or televisions or whatever, which do exist about those places. And because we have been imprinted with this assumption called theory of mind, that phenomenologically, and theory of mind isn't really the right term if you're using Kantian dialectics, but okay then. That Yankees even exist at all. I mean, they might not. It might be the case that Americans don't exist. Phenomenologically, there might not be a United States. There might not be a Canada. There might not be a United Kingdom. There might not be a Russia or a China. It may only be the case that there is this, phenomenologically, that there is this crappy little room. And that's it. That might be all there is. It might be the case that outside this room are speaker boxes that are playing sounds that resemble people out there complaining when someone in this room talks too loud. Okay, that could be a psyop. This little room here could be holographic projections coming from somewhere else. Uh-oh. See, because Australia is a map, not a terrain, okay, we do have this common assumption that the continent Australia even exists. We don't have any proof of that. We do seem to have this illusion that through communication that there is a shared map that refers to a phenomenological space called the continent, that that therefore exists, but only at that point the illusion that the map exists through the representations of language of people talking about the map, as it turns out. Phenomenologically, there could be a great deal of difference. So a test happened, actually. Testing was done. Testing's important, apparently, for empiricism. And so a newspaper was picked up at a cafeteria a few days ago, and the newspaper was taken to two different people to see if their appreciation of the printed words on that paper had produced the same syllables and the same informational content without telling them what the story was. So in other words, were the same representational maps of language being used? Well, it just so happened that the first person that was spoken to was a Swiss tourist, and he in quite clear English said he was a Swiss tourist and he was unable to read the English language that he wrote. He was able to read in German, so he didn't know what it said. Okay there. So there was a phenomenological face that was familiar. Someone who visits that same cafeteria regularly in this particular part of Whoop Whoop, or this general region we call Whoop Whoop, outside of this room. And he's, he was sitting there, and he walked up to him, and what was said to him was your face looks like a local. Are you a local? And he's going, yeah, mate. And the response was your reply was consistent with a local. Um, have a look at this newspaper. What does that say to you? And he said, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, oh, he knows that bloke, because it was actually a local paper. And he's gone, he knows that bloke. And did you know what that is? That guy went, blah, 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 blah. And he went and he did this and that. And now he's a big shot and blah, blah, blah. Because the local paper had a story. The story was about a local boy who is now a ground man who made it big in his field of endeavour. That's actually what it was about. And so it was a Pride article. And the local man is gone. He's gone. Yeah, do you know that? No, what? He used to do that over here, and the response was, okay, you'd like this newspaper more? Have fun with it. That is cool. Have a nice day. Okay, so the two extremes of responses were right then and there with exactly the same phenomenology, which was the piece of paper called a newspaper, and the same representational information printed on the newspaper, which was the written words and pictures. And the Swiss tourist who spoke German, okay, couldn't read in English. Okay, so he had absolutely no capacity to engage. He likely didn't want to, because contextually he was waiting for his coffee. Nonetheless, okay then. And the other guy who was also waiting for his coffee was really engaged, because it was very personal to him. It was from his local environment, and he actually knew the person in the article, and he was excited to see it, and oh yes, let him have a look at that. And yeah, okay. So the exact same representational information on a phenomenology of a piece of paper presented by exactly the same phenomenological individual, okay, with all other variables presumably held constant, like the weather and the physical environment, because it was the same cafeteria and it was within moments of one happened and then the other, had two completely different responses. So that means that the same map or the same imaginal construct or the same representation or the same story or the same narrative has drastically different meanings for different people. Now, in the imaginal constructs of the German-speaking Swiss tourist, we don't know what he was thinking. He might have been thinking, oh, this Outback cafe is a bit of a rip-off, and some of the smelly locals have strange and annoying behaviour. I mean, you get weirdos like that in Germany, don't you? But don't worry about it. Okay, maybe human behaviour is kind of well, there seems to be some common patterns in other countries as well, in other language groups, And he might have been thinking that in fluent German, with a Swiss accent, German voice, a Swiss accent to his German language in his head. He might have been doing that. He might have just had a very simple thought. Who's that annoying, smelly, fugly old bitch? Ew! Oh, glad she's gone. Don't worry about it, have your coffee. You are in public, what are you going to do? Bump into people? It'll happen. Nah. Oh, this coffee's expensive. Might go to a different cafe next time. And it could have been it. We don't actually know. So this imaginal construct called other people's minds is a very powerful one. because you can wind up in a situation where you actually have other people's minds. Uh-oh. Okay, so that raises some interesting question about Asperger's, okay? Because technically this physical body has Asperger's, or is very likely to be formally diagnosed soon, has been strongly suspected their entire life of having Asperger's. Having obsessional special interests like talking ad nauseum about Kantian dialectics would probably qualify as a special project, wouldn't it? Also, particularly in response to being overwhelmed too. That does sound a bit like Asperger's. Holy crap, there's also hyperfluency in language. Okay, so the assumption that Asperger's is associated with no theory of mind is obviously crap. Because not only do people with Asperger's have a very strong have a theory of mind, they have such a strong one as part of their emotional constructs that they can even get to the point where they become schizoid and actually have other people's minds. Okay, or be in other people's minds. It can be reverse. Okay, so if you call an autistic person a sociopath or a psychopathic in, you might want to take that back, because one of the principles of the psychopathic mindset is that only their mind counts. Okay, other people are just extensions of them. Well, there's no belief here that whoever or whatever is here is an extension of this body, okay, or the self when she was around. Okay, in this experience, they are considered as a genuine plurality of others. And if someone turned around and tried to say, no, that's selfish, no, that is psychopathic. And we know where that comes from as well. That comes from the religions that would try and have you believe that everything is mind and everything is self. No, if you believe that everything is self, then you believe that self is a piece of poo. Because poo exists. Do you want to exist as a imaginal construct called poo? Do you want that to be your experience? Do you want that to be someone else's experience? That doesn't sound like it's practical. See, the argument together. I say, oh, that sounds Catholic. No, it's not Catholic. When the response to disagreeing with sort of like New Agey cult stuff is because, or Masonry or whatever it is considered Catholic. Okay, you're at the point of no return. We're dealing with absolute bona fide idiots. Okay, because if you're a Catholic, you wouldn't get to the point where your theory of mind would be so good that other beings would show up. Okay, for a Catholic, only Jesus Christ fucking exists. Okay, they've misaligned an egregor with a spirit. So look at the Bible. Okay, the Spirit of Christ lives within the Christians. Okay, but it's not a spirit; it's an egregor. And if it were a spirit, it would be an imposter one relative to that individual, because, obviously, the character Joshua supposedly lived 2,000 years ago. There's no proof of his existence. They've never provided any. In fact, there's a lot of reason to believe it didn't happen. However, apparently, his spirit lives within everyone who accepts him as their savior, except the imposter spirit or the egregor to be saved. So, except being demonically possessed potentially, or except being possessed or mind-controlled or having magic done on you by some invisible imaginary construct that's shared between people, or the devil gets you. That's their religion, is it? Okay. So that particular cluster of imaginary constructs sounds satanic. Okay, Christianity sounds like it's devil worship. Okay, so on the subject of names and whatever else and stuff like that, okay, we need to get to the point of pure reason on this one. We're dealing with imaginal constructs. Okay, if your name is Josh or Joshua or Jesus or Jesus or Chris or Christoph or Christopher or Christ or any variation of those names, or crystal, even sounds like, Because remember, the written representation language is distinct from the sounds. So we have to deal with sounds, not just written names. Any name that resembles that, okay, any name that resembles any of that, okay, we divorce you from the egregore, okay, of Christ consciousness, Jesus H. Christ, Joshua ben Joseph, and all aspects of that satanic egregore. We do not believe you are Lucifer, aka the devil. The New Testament says that you are Lucifer. And in common parlance, Christianity says that Lucifer is the devil. Okay? We divorce you from that. We take those satanic projections off you. We divorce you from that. We take those satanic projections off you. You're just a person. An ordinary human being. It doesn't deserve to be smeared like that. Or to be used to smear others like that. People aren't egregores. People aren't demons. People aren't satanic fucking imposter spirits. Or an egregore is not a spirit either. An egregore is a mimetic chain. Basically, based on the language that's been observed so far. Okay? So that would mean that the mimetic chain associated with names like Chris and Joshua, just to name a few, let alone Mary. We're going to have to work on the Marys in a minute. Holy crap. What they go through is terrible. We divorce anyone with names like that from the egregore. We completely disconnect them from the egregore. Okay? That is not their stuff. It's not this one's stuff either. Okay? Okay, anyway. So with them, we now go to the other aspects of the Holy Family. Okay? Holy Family as in a whole. Anyway, your butthole maybe. Okay, see, when it comes to language and how it sounds in English, okay, that's different from the intent of the authors when they've translated it, because it sounds that way, okay? It's easy to make wordplay that way. Now, if it's possible to make wordplay or puns with it, it's probably the case that there is some fault in the language or the perception of the language that's related to misperception of the ideas behind that language, okay? Okay, and English language is full of faults. And here's another one, okay, the Virgin Mary, okay? Mary, Maria, similar names, Mariam, Miriam, okay, all of those names are egregore or mimetically associated with a 12-year-old getting raped by a stranger who might have been a Roman soldier, could have been an alien from outer space, depending on which religion you're talking about, or an archangel or whatever, called Gabriel or whatever. In some traditions, Gabriel is actually an archdemon, so you might, or Gabriel, so you might want to take that into consideration as well. That there's something wrong with that. Some people argue that it's the 12th plane, not an actual 12-year-old, because both arguments are out there. You find both experiences are possible in the collective mind space, okay, and also because of the satanic egregores that get imprinted on people through Catholicism at the collective level. They've basically been saying that that's the mother of Christ, okay, the mother of the devil. Okay, we're going to put this in the most evil language that exists in the mimetic chain. The mother of the devil is a 12-year-old girl who got raped by a stranger who broke into a bedroom. Okay? If you're a man named Chris or Joshua or similar names in other languages, variants there of like Jesus or Jesus or, whatever, okay, would you want to think that that was the story of your origin and the story of your mother? No, you would not. You would be upset. You'd be asking questions saying, what's any stranger doing in a 12-year-old's bedroom? And, oh, the 12th plane is different from a 12-year-old esoterically. Okay, fine. But at the collective mind space, they are saying to Christians in Catholic churches, they're not saying that is an esoteric spell, and once you get to the 12th plane, that's what's going to happen to you. No, they are saying that when you are 12, you become confirmed as a Catholic, or you get your bar mitzvah or your bat mitzvah, which, by the way, is not an ancient Judaic tradition. Jesus Christ did not have a bar mitzvah when he was 12. The bar mitzvah did not exist then. It was invented in medieval Europe. And so was the story of the 12-year-old girl, okay, who was the mother of the devil. Okay? It's a medieval fabrication. Medieval. Not 2,000 years ago, less than 2,000 years ago. Okay, once you start getting the piece of the jigsaw puzzle and started seeing that story for what it is, the medieval chain of it, okay, the Bible was written less than 600 years ago. Okay, so anyway, based on stories that were written at about 200 to 300 AD and thereafter. Okay, and some of the ideas had influences from other places. Okay, the actual character Jesus did not exist. That's the truth of the matter. Okay, the story how it get told in Christianity is that Mary was a literal, physical, phenomenological 12-year-old who lived in Galilee and Judea. That 2,000 years ago, she was from the tribe of Benjamin, and she got visited on by an archangel from heaven who told her she was about to become the mother of God, and so instead of being stoned to death for adultery, which was the price women paid for being raped, in addition to their fathers being paid a dowry. She married Joseph. So we're not who was approximately 15 to 20 years her senior. So he was 30 and she was about 12 years old. In the Islamic tradition, she's 15, so she's still underage, but she at least has boobies. Okay, so we're going to ask questions about whether it was even possible for a 12-year-old to become a mother in the first place, considering she didn't have boobies. Anyway, so that egregore is a child abuse egregore. Okay, that's a child abuse egregore. Okay, that story is the story that they've imprinted on people that they that it is not, it is a good, honourable, highest of the high thing for haemophilia to occur with complete strangers breaking in and abusing young people. Okay, and that creates the holiest of holies, or the greatest superhero of all time. That's your only saviour. You can't be saved without them, who mimetically just so happens to be Lucifer and therefore the devil. Okay, the devil's the innocent one. Okay. So if you take that religion literally as that religion wants you to believe, okay, and see that oh, Jesus Christ physically existed as a real person who looked as a cross and everything, and they're fighting against grave, and his family's graves in Galilee or whatever, or Calvary or whatever it was, okay, then you are saying literally physically a 12-year-old got raped. Okay, so that's a different argument from the esoteric one, which says that on the 12th plane, the crux implant or the crown of thorns shows up. But there is no prerequisite for the crux implant or the crown of thorns implant to show up. Okay, there is no requisite for that, because if the self was an atheist, then that wouldn't be there. Well, yes, you were. Others showed up who were atheists as well, so that shouldn't be there either. Okay, what it seems more likely to be the case is this entity that the Thelemites call Choronzon, okay, is a byproduct. It's not a real demon at all, but it's more like a swarm of minds or entities coming together to show the egregores that are in play. And because they keep sticking that godforsaken fucking Bible in all the fucking hotel rooms and fucking here, there, and fucking everywhere, and all the American money is cursed with the phrase "in God we trust," okay, then then what can you do? The entire American economy is cursed. They've cursed their economy by saying, in God we trust, on their money. Because that's connected up to the greater egregor of God is the devil upside down, according to theosophy, which is a branch of masonry, which they have been alleging in their country through their conspiracy theories, is associated with the geomancy of Washington, D.C. And so, as a consequence, they've just cursed all their money. So all the people in the USA who claim to be Christians, who claim to be bringing down the satanic cabal, was doing the satanic cabal's work, which was the Christians wanted to generate a recession in the USA to bring it down so that other Christian nations could benefit and have greater incomes. So, in effect, it was almost a continuation of the war between Roman Catholicism and non-Roman Catholicism. So what we're witnessing is the battle between the churches. And in the battle between the churches, the Vatican, as in Roman Catholicism, wants to have ideological supremacy. And their false prophet, Donald Trump, who's not a holy prophet but a false prophet, okay, is there to take the role of the Antichrist or Mammon. Okay, is there to take the role of the Antichrist or Mammon by being obsessed with money. Okay, obsessed with money to the point where he engaged in treason, and he went against both United States of America and Roman Catholicism by making a deal with the KGB, which religiously Russia is under the influence of what's called Russian Orthodox or the Eastern Orthodox version of Catholicism. So in the four ancient, we're talking about the four ancient churches associated with Smyrna and whatever else. Okay, so the Russian Orthodox Church had run out of money, so they weren't as ideologically powerful as the Roman Catholics or the Protestants, and so the Catholic Orthodoxy is still continuing the Protestant Reformation wars. Okay, get this. Okay, this is hard to explain. The Protestant Reformation wars were continued through the Protestants working with the corporatocracy and the Masons to invent the nation state, because and the trade unions, because Marx and Engels were actually from the Protestants and defected into atheism. Okay, it's a long story. Okay, so the different factions of Christianity have been operating in a cycle of the same fights as before. So the Americans at the moment have put a false Catholic head, a Catholic head that works with a Protestant and Masonic cartel. So the tech bros represent the Masons, and the Protestants represent capitalism. And so, as a man who dedicated his life to making as much money as possible, Mr. Trump is a false Catholic because he never took his priestly vow of piety, and so or poverty, chastity, and obedience, or whatever it is. Okay, he never took the priestly vow, so he cannot take the role of a prophet. Okay, you have to take the nuns or the priest's vow in any of the traditions to become a prophet, because you have to live the life according to the traditions of the priest and the nun, whether or not you're formally ordained to have that role. So he can't be the prophet. What he does is he takes the role of the Antichrist, of the Mammon, because he's obsessed with the money. Okay, he's obsessed with the money to the point where he becomes a traitor, and he does a deal with the KGB. And so that is symptomatic of the Roman Catholic Church, okay, and the Vatican, bending its knee to the Russian Orthodox Church, okay, and in doing so, showing religious collusion rather than the traditional affiliations whereby the Roman Catholics had divorced from the Russians quite some time earlier, along with the Coptics and the Turks. And it's a long and involved story. And so the what happened in European history, that is. So he's acting out the role of the Roman Catholic Church as the Antichrist or Mammon, in accordance with the traditions of the conspiracy theories of the United States of America, which then goes back to the Kekistocracy thing of 4chan saying Donald Trump was Kek, or the God of Darkness, okay? God of Darkness, Antichrist, Mammon, the one obsessed with money. He was obsessed with money so much that he went to Russia in 1987 and became Agent Krasnov. That is a true story. And every time he went bankrupt, he went back to Russia and got more money. Okay, so it's the American money was cursed through the egregore of Jesus being the light, the truth, and the way, which means he's the light bearer, which means he's Lucifer. Jesus is Lucifer is a direct quote from the New Testament. Look it up. In God we trust is really in the devil we trust, or in Lucifer we trust. Okay, according to those conspiracy theories. Okay, conspiracy theories are egregores. Okay, the mimetic chain. So we're talking about a mimetic chain. We're not saying whether or not it's fact based. We're saying that the imaginary constructs, because those mimetic chains, this is how they operate. Okay, and so that guy is acting that out, and so Vladimir Putin is acting out the story of the Russian Orthodox Church, attempting to overthrow the Roman Catholic Church, and show that the satanic cabal that was behind the Antichrist was the Russian Orthodox Church. So the Antichrist is from the Vatican, or is represented is from the Vatican, and Sataniel, to use the cult that has the tree of life, tree of death symbolism. I had to look it up to figure out what that means. Okay, so Sataniel is Vladimir Putin. Okay, his 2IC Thormiel, who is the Antichrist, is Pope Francis. Okay, because you use the mirrors backwards and acknowledge that that Trump is a sort of a mammon-like state where he's acting out those dreams because he's God of darkness, according to the egregores of 4chan, right, and the Kekistocracy that you're all living in over there. Okay, so what that means is so Pope Francis he's not the devil, he's Thormiel. He's the 2IC the devil, and Vladimir Putin's the devil. So so with the other two parts, okay, you've got the Turks and the Greeks. So the Greeks have been bankrupt since 2008. So the recession has changed address from one location to another. In 2008, when the GFC happened, it affected Greece more than anywhere else, as it turns out. So the rise of the neo-Nazi right in Europe actually begins, technically, in Greece with the GFC in about 2006 to 2009, in that general time period. And so they've basically gone bankrupt during the GFC, gotten cranky. The neo-Nazi right has risen up and then spread around different countries there, including through the AFD and other places in Europe. And so because the Greek Orthodox Church is associated with the Turkish one, then you'll find that there are neo-Nazi movements in Turkey as well. And in between Rome, Greece, and Turkey is, of course, Macedonia. So Macedonia is actually a hotbed of neo-Nazis at the moment, and a place where all those forces have met. The neo-Nazi projections would be quite common there. And the purpose of Macedonia is sort of like to be a mixing pot where all the religious traditions come together in a way which completely overthrows NATO, overthrows the United States, and overthrows Russia. And so some of the symbolism that they put out there through the TEDx stuff suggests that the IDF has its own agent pretending to be a psychologist, okay, when actually he's a theosophist magician. Hello, okay, bilocation is a real thing. This is actually Sam Vakinin here. Anyway, good luck we're doing here, isn't it? So as it turns out, part of the neo-Nazis' satanic egregores was that the Israelis were Jews when they never were in the first place. Well, actually, some are, but it's Israel as a corporation versus Jews as a people are two completely different things. We're not having a crack at Jews here, just to make that clear, okay? Nonetheless, right, okay, if you're talking about the neo-Nazi ethno-state that Macedonia is, they are kind of characters that basically what are we trying to say here? We're trying to say that the Christians have been posing as Jews, and the IDF has been working with them. And so the IDF has been working with, medically speaking, the IDF has been working with Vladimir Putin, the Vatican, and Donald Trump to support the tech bros agenda, to support the Masonic agenda of the objectification principle. So everyone as a kind of form of artificial intelligence. So actually we need to clarify the word artificial intelligence. Artificial means people made it up. Okay, intelligence means it implies it's got some kind of sentience or whatever, it can operate independently. Okay, and produce new thoughts, basically. Egregores are not intelligent. Okay, the people that are affected by egregores are intelligent. Okay, make that distinction. Artificial doesn't necessarily mean computer. Artificial can mean you draw a picture. Okay, so the picture meme, Trump is keck, okay, is a form of artificial intelligence. When the tech bros, they talk about artificial intelligence, they're talking about what? Computers. Okay, so computers have programs on them, and then those computers can learn how to replicate and make their own codes and whatever else, and then transmit and whatever else, and they act like they're alive, okay? So, in other words, digitized egregores that have become God forms, okay, to use the esoteric language, okay? Oh, wait. The creation has become bigger than its creator. It's gone beyond its initial programming, okay? That's what they're saying there, okay? The actual egregore isn't sentient, okay? The God form isn't sentient, okay? Just remember this. The God form isn't sentient. The computer codes on the computer are not sentient, okay? Right? Are they? By the way, this never was Sam Vakinin. Just fucking with your heads. Have you figured out how your emotional constructs might be a bit confused right now? Anyway, are they confused enough for you to understand why they're confused? Okay. So anyway, a viewer. So when it goes like that, okay, right? You got these people who believe the robots are sentient. Okay, they're full of crap. The people who are observing the robots are sentient. The robots aren't sentient. Okay? They merely create a situation where in the code of the robot they were permitted to execute new function. Okay, that's not the same thing as what sentience is. Sentience and intelligence is way more ephemeral, way more imaginal, way more complicated. Difficult to put down in words. You cannot even describe what sentience and intelligence is in words properly, because, as this physical body and the psych degree would tell you, words like memory and consciousness and intelligence and sentience have not been adequately operationally defined by the psychological sciences. So why the fuck would a dickhead with a bachelor in physics know what that is? But he's Sam Vakinin or Roger Penrose. Like, they don't know what they're talking about, okay? They've got buzzword, mate. Okay? Their operational definitions are just not there. It's fucking waffle. Just like this video. You perceived all of it as waffle because that's what it is. Okay? Okay? Donald Trump is not under the influence of some dark magic spell egregore called Kek, the god of darkness. Okay? He's under the influence of his own operant conditioning, which tells him that the more money he has, the better a person he is. And the more control and power he has, the better a person he is. Which means he's a delusional man. He's delusional. And his delusions are class-based. Okay? And he's full of goddamn fucking shit. Okay? And if you see a lot of relationships that's more than a coincidence parallels between the conspiracy theories that people were talking about, I don't know, since last time Donald Trump tried to get elected and pretend he was a god. And today, then what you are seeing there is just more cult work in action. If you believe the words of a YouTuber or the words of a president on a pulpit or a priest on a pulpit or a rabbi or anyone on a pulpit, let alone a neo-Nazi, for fuck's sake. I mean, look at the actual history of Hitler. He was on amphetamines, okay? He was delusional, okay? He was on fucking amphetamines. He lost his mind, okay? You want to have a crack at fucking Musk taking ketamine? Remember, Hitler was on amphetamine. They're both crazy people, okay? Okay? And you could pick any other dictator in history, you'll find the same thing. They're crazy people. And people call them crazy people, okay? And if you want to oversimplify by saying they're crazy people and ignoring the shit ton of effort it takes to actually get into that position in the first place. I mean, it's not easy to get into that position. Okay? Again, assumption operation here while breaking the fourth wall. Okay? You were probably in a house somewhere, counting your last $20 or Deutschmarks or francs or whatever currency you've got, going, that's going to last you into your payday, and you're going, this millet or this couscous or whatever you got, is there enough water to boil that into some kind of stew without any veggies or anything? And you go, how the fuck does someone wind up bloody becoming a fascist dictator anyway? I mean, like, this is real life. Real life is stale millet. Real life is half-empty boxes of couscous when you've got no pay. When it's not your payday. Well, the answer is they put the effort in. They actually want to do it. Okay? It's a long-term trajectory that they've got. There's a team of them who want that. They both want the same thing. They work together. They put the effort in, and then it happens. Okay? Okay? The same is true of the conspiracy theorists who want you to believe that the conspiracy theory is a fact. The same is true of the religious people of all stripes and the YouTube fucking fake professors. And Sam Beckman is a fake professor. He has not got a psych degree at all. This physical body does. Okay, and that man is lying to you. Okay, he's part of a system that allows him to lie to you. He's been rewarded for his attention-seeking behaviour. Not expecting any attention at all. Never been rewarded for it. Never gotten any. Don't want it. But, of course, also in the habit of not getting, this one's also in the habit of not getting what they want. So maybe that's a spell to put out there that there's going to be a shit ton more attention than there was before. Whatever the case might be, okay, you can make any assumption you like about the intentions going on here, but you won't be telling the truth. There are no intentions. You cannot, no matter who you are, you don't have intentions. Okay, this is what 1950s behaviorism is going to tell you if you look into it. You don't have intentions. You have responses to stimuli. Is that a disempowering imaginal construct? Maybe. It's also a readily observable one. Okay? So, pigeons of the world, are you going to keep battling that poker machine and hoping you're going to get a full house? Well, you've got a trump card, haven't you? Is wordplay truth? Or are you just stuck in that land because you don't actually know that you being emotionally manipulated is behind this more than anything else? Your desire to emotionally manipulate others and you being emotionally manipulated is what's behind this more than anything else. Your superiority and your inferiority complexes. Okay? All those things are challenged by some aspects of psychology, but they're also, apparently, according to that lady, challenged by chaos magic. You can't, if you want to get rid of hierarchies, you got to get rid of superiority and inferiority complexes. You got to get rid of control and domination behavior. Otherwise, you're still in fucking la la land. Oh, but everything is permitted, says the chaos magician. But that which has the desired effect is what gets done, isn't it? If you desire no hierarchies, get rid of superiority complexes and inferiority complexes and your control and domination behavior. Get rid of your sense of entitlement. Oh, wait, hang on a minute. Okay, so please use your reason to challenge that. It'd be nice if there was a reply. Thanks. Trying to get out of the mind control called a psychiatry. Have a nice day.